Hello, hello. I'm Danita Jones. My family calls me Civic Minded Jones, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Lamia, and she is a psychologist. Her career long passion for encouraging emotional awareness in adults, adolescents, and preteens is exemplified by her 6 books. Her most recent publications include Grief Isn't Something to Get Over, Finding a Home for Memories and Emotions After Losing a Loved One, and The Upside of Shame, Therapeutic Interventions Using the Positive Aspects of a Negative Emotion. Her blog posts for Psychology Today illustrate her endeavor to convey an understanding of emotion and its significant role in who we become. With that same goal in mind, she is also a professor in the doctoral program of the Wright Institute in Berkeley and has a private practice in Kentfield, California. Let's welcome Dr. Lamia.
Hi, Danita. Thank you for
Hey.
having me.
Thank you for being here. So, first of all, tell me, why is this work important to you?
Over the 50 years that I've done this work, it's transformed somewhat, but I've always wanted to help people learn more about their emotions and who they are, and have them be guided by that so that they can have more fulfilling lives.
That's great. That's awesome. And so, today I brought you here to discuss, for my program, From Discord to Harmony, Charting America's Path Forward, Charting America's Path to Unity. And when I think about that, I always think about people's belief systems. So, what are the key psychological factors that shape a person's beliefs?
Um, it's so interesting how we blame people for having beliefs they have, or criticize them, or put them down in some ways. But actually, our beliefs come from the emotions that have been activated throughout our lives and create memories that exist in our brain. And we have this whole, file cabinet of memories in our brain that tell us what to do in the present and what we need to do in the future because memories and emotions protect us. They're there for our protection. They're not there just, to get rid of. They're there because they tell us what to do. They activate an emotion could activate a memory in our brain and it informs us what our next move should be.
Yeah.
So, it's our whole file cabinet of emotions that have been triggered throughout our lives and the memories that are created that really determine our behavior.
Yeah, and that's so really deep and complex, I feel too, because we all have such various, backgrounds and different experiences, growing up and throughout life and all of that, which forms your memories because you've experienced them, and then how you proceed or operate or interact with other people, it's really interesting. So how
Well,
do
these days, you know how people talk about being triggered by something.
Mhm.
Well, what are they talking about? They're talking about an emotion is activated in them based on a previous experience. Now, that doesn't mean you need to avoid that person because they trigger some emotion in you. It means you need to take a look at what is happening and why
Right.
versus, it's a bad thing to have that trigger. It's not a bad thing. It just happens to be because of your past experiences.
Yeah. And really recognizing that, oh, I'm triggered right now. And then, yes, examine like, why am I triggered? What is
Yes.
causing me to react this way? So, how do emotions and memories influence the ideologies we adopt?
Well, throughout our lives, just imagine all the emotions we have and all the memories we construct from those emotional experiences. And if we put them all together, they determine, what we believe. So we can't fault anybody for what they believe. It just happens to be their compilation of emotional experiences. And yet, if we look at all of our emotional experiences, maybe we could understand why we believe what we do
Hmm.
and how to, I mean, we can justify, what we believe. It doesn't make it right or wrong. It just makes it what it is because of our emotional experience. It doesn't mean that a particular political belief is right or wrong. It's that we may adhere to it because it fits our lineup of emotional memories.
Yeah, no, that's a great point right there. So why do some people remain apathetic toward political and social issues, even when those issues directly affect them?
What is apathy? You know, apathy is fascinating because one of our most dominant emotions, we think about what's the most prominent emotion we can feel. Well, I mean, what's most useful to our lives? Well, it happens to be a fairly neutral one, interest.
Hmm.
Interest is an emotion where, I mean, we couldn't survive without interest. Interest, curiosity, uh, makes us pursue something, pursue a goal. Put a
Hmm.
little baby down on the floor and put a shiny thing across the room, and the baby is likely to, crawl across the room to find it because they're interested. And interest helps us grow. So as a motivating mechanism, see, the purpose of emotion is to motivate us. They're motivating mechanisms. They make us do something. They tell us what to do. So interest in some ways informs us to to be curious, to pursue. Now, if you are apathetic, you're not interested.
Hmm.
So why are people not interested in politics or whatever, what political stuff is out there? It's because they don't have an interest in it. Maybe their warehouse of memories doesn't have a lot of contents that have to do with that being important to them,
Hmm.
or they're not motivated for some reason to pursue that knowledge.
And then maybe sometimes too, because I was speaking with some other experts about this as well, like overwhelmed and then you shut down. Could those also
Well,
be
yes, your emotions
possibilities?
can be somewhere else. Your emotions can be focused on something more pressing in your life, or well, if you're shut down, that would be sort of depressed, sort
Hmm.
of in some ways like it feels like an absence of emotion. It feels like a suppression of emotion.
Hmm.
And so you withdraw when you're down like that or depressed.
Yeah.
And so you don't care. Emotions make us care. They motivate us, they make us care. The opposite of love is not hate, for example. It's indifference.
Mm.
You know, if you break up with somebody and you are still mad at them, you're not indifferent. You still care,
Mm.
whether it's positive or negative. An emotion can be positive or it could be negative, but it still is caring.
Still caring. Yeah. So, what role does fear play in reinforcing our or challenging our beliefs?
Think about fear as a highly motivating emotion because it is necessary for our survival, or at least it was. And
Hmm.
I mean, it still is, but it certainly was in caveman days
Hmm.
and cave woman days. I mean, if a panther is at the mouth of the cave and you don't have fear, you've got a problem. So fear protects us. Um, so fear can motivate us to change a belief if we think that changing a belief will keep us safe.
Yeah.
And so it's all based on survival.
Hmm.
And if we think our survival is at stake, let's say because a certain political party is in office, we have a lot of fear and we're hypervigilant. Fear makes us look around and be careful.
Yeah.
So it's all a matter of survival. And
Right.
those again, that's again based on our emotional memories.
Right. It's the whole flight or fight type of thing too, right?
Yes, in a way it is.
Hmm.
But I mean, there's other responses to fear, including tend and befriend.
Hmm.
So it's not all fight or flight.
Hmm.
Um, there's a lot of ways to handle fear, especially we need to look at it and see, where does this fear come from? Does this come from my upbringing? What did my parents say? What do I remember? What scared me?
And again,
Uh,
that ties right back into the memories thing, what you've been
right
talking
into
about.
the
It's like
memories.
it seems like all roads lead to your memories and
Yes, they do.
how you react to things. So, how do people in power use emotions such as fear, anger, or hope to maintain their influence over the public?
Oh, unfortunately, emotions are used all the time to influence the public. Any advertisement you see on television has some emotional element that's bound to influence you if you let it. Uh,
Mhm.
Many people like to sit around and kind of figure out an ad to see what it's trying to do to you, and
Hmm.
that may be fun. But if you're just passive and you just listen and you let it in and let it influence you, it can evoke all kinds of emotions, sadness, happiness, whatever, joy, fear, for sure, anger. So, yes, emotions get used by politicians, by advertising. All kinds of people use emotions to influence people.
And it's really now I feel, but I mean, it's been out this way forever as far as needing to be mindful about the biases or even, in advertising or the news and so forth, because it's like everything is to create a response, from
Oh, the
you,
news,
you know?
you got it there. Um, and if you listen to the vocal tones and rhythms of news broadcasters, that alone evokes emotion.
Mm,
And a good news broadcaster knows how to do that. They
hmm
can use their vocal tones and rhythms to calm you down and comfort you or to stir you up.
Yeah.
And I sometimes have to tell patients they need to go on a bit of a news diet because it actually influences them. There are people who get depressed from listening to too much news.
I know I've cut back
Designed.
on watching the news a lot lately because it was just triggering my emotions everywhere. I was just bouncing all over the place.
Yes, and
So,
watching commentary on the news, I mean, how
mhm.
much can you watch? But if you evoke fear in people, then the news becomes addicting. They'll want more because they want reassurance or they want to know what to do to protect themselves or how they should think. And so it's addicting in that way, in that, we are creatures who are self-protective. And so we'll get pulled in by the news.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, you know, is greed an innate human trait or is it something shaped by societal and cultural factors? Sometimes,
Greed.
and yeah, because I first talked a little about power, but I want to talk about a little bit about greed as well.
And can you give me an example of how you're
Well, as far
defining?
as um as far as in like in politics, and this is throughout, you know, our country is about to be 250 years old, but we have seen throughout time, 1700, 1800s, that a lot of political plays have a lot of, greed for the most part, always trying to, it seems at least, to benefit themselves politically versus, um, looking out for the people. So just exploring that topic a little.
So you're talking even about selfishness, right?
Yes, yes.
In a way.
Yeah.
Um, well, if there's 100 people in the tribe and there's only so many berries to go around, there are going to be people who want them all, and there are going to be others who pick the berries and give them away and make sure they're distributed. Uh, so people are different in terms of whether they're empathic and caring and giving, or if they keep it all for themselves, or they want it all themselves. Um, in a way, you're talking about narcissism, aren't you?
Yeah, actually,
Self-centeredness.
when you break it down fully, yeah, I think it really um boils down to that actually.
And if you think about narcissism, where does narcissism come from? It comes from the avoidance of shame, or maybe avoidance of doing without, in your example.
Mhm.
Um, so greed would be a way to protect oneself if you have a lifetime of memories. If a person has a lifetime of memories where they don't have enough, or they think that getting it all even if it hurts other people, will help them. Again, that lifetime of memories really can affect people.
Yeah, yeah. And just even speaking on that, and I know when I first started, I think when I first wrote you, I was mentioning how like when I was 11, the saying, you never know about someone. I mean, I'm really paraphrasing it right now because I don't have it in front of me, unless you walk a mile in their shoes and their moccasins. And so I have pretty much always lived my life that way. And then because you just never know what someone has gone through or experienced to make them the person that they are
Oh,
today,
you're so right. You're
you
so
know?
right. We don't know what's in somebody else's head or in their heart or in their memory file,
Mhm.
and yet we assume we do. Again, that's another human trait, making assumptions about what other people think or feel or
Mhm.
how they're going to behave. And then we behave accordingly. It's all for self-preservation. But are we right? More often than not, we're not right
Mhm.
because we haven't walked a mile in their shoes. We don't know. We can't read somebody else's mind.
Mhm.
Sure, make a lot of inferences though.
Mhm.
And it's I don't think it's a happy way to live. It's
Mhm.
it's more interesting to find out what somebody else's life was like and why they believe what they do instead of categorizing them in some way.